And I tell you to break clean, watch yourself at all times, shake hands now, may the best man win. Good luck to both of you.
Round one, there's the bell. Speed called by very expert, the uncrowned heavyweight champion.
Welcome into another episode of That's Boxing Podcast. I'm Dust.
I'm Coach.
And we got a lot to discuss. Thanks for bearing with us in this late week episode. I was down in Mississippi, just drunk on barbecue for 3 days. And but I didn't miss the fights. I'm true. I went back to the hunting lodge and got locked down, got the internet going, got the fights on.
Hell yeah, awesome. Yeah, I was out of town a little bit too. I had some trouble watching the fights live, and whatever I missed, I caught up on. Obviously, by now, this late in the week, I've caught up on everything, but I was at a spot and the internet was spotty, and then I was going back and forth on buying the thing or seeing what I could find out there floating around in the dark, high seas.
The dark web.
And I was like, oh, and then by the time it was like, I realized this wasn't working out and I should probably just buy it. It was too late, and then I wasn't going to pay $90 for one fight.
No. I mean, you were kind of paying $90 for one fight either way, but maybe two.
Well, it worked out, and, I didn't miss the fight of the year, despite what Fat Joe was trying to say after the fight. The fight of the year, you saw that? That was a fight of the year. I was like, I don't know about that, man.
Not sure a UD with all rounds going to one guy can be the fight of the year. But let's get into it. Let's break down the card. Glad you caught most of it as well. First off, we have Rolly getting back on track with, I believe, UD win over Manuel Jaimes. Kind of a... not the most exciting fight. Didn't get back to knocking people out, but he looked solid and got back in the win column, which I think was kind of what he wanted to do. I thought that Manuel would be more of a live dog, candidly, in this fight, but he couldn't put it together and really took it away.
Yeah, Rolly showed a really strong jab and some good boxing skills. I think he's working with Coach Salas. Is working out for him really well. He seems to be showing at least some patience. He was swinging some big power shots early, which is probably what got respect off the kid, Jaime. So, maybe that's what slowed him down and made him, in my notes here I wrote, he's patient early. And then he was kind of patient all night. There were some moments where it was a bit of a good scrap, but you could see the Rolly win coming, as long as he kept on the path. And he was still jabbing there in the final 10th and final round, still jabbing. So I thought that showed some discipline and some good coaching in the corner.
I think he has better fundamentals than people give him credit for. Like, even in the Pitbull fight, he looked composed, and he looked like he had a game plan, which was to be long and use the jab. Pitbull just completely disregarded it and, pushed him around. So it didn't work, but he didn't look fundamentally flawed, and that's why he got beat. He just got beat. So maybe there's a path for him somewhere, a place for him.
Yeah, and we talked last week about the prediction or about the running order, and I was wrong. They put Fulton ahead of Rolly on the free prelims.
Yeah, kind of sad. And Fulton struggled a lot more in that fight than people thought. I mean, He was like a minus 1,600 favorite. Everybody thought he was going to run away with it, and that was not the case.
No, he was getting hit all night. He got put down on his butt hard, but he got up, and CompuBox said he won the fight, but it was close. It was real close. Like, a rematch wouldn't be a problem for me on that one. Castro was going hell for leather all night, just was not backing down. And while the CompuBox says you land more punches, I don't think I ever saw Fulton hurt the guy.
Yeah, I'd like to see him run it back too, and not a good look for Fulton and what happens next for him. Next up, which I thought was probably stole the show, Caleb Plant versus Trevor McCumbee. We were talking in the last episode about how a lot of people were disregarding Trevor McCumbee, and he was not going to be able to do anything, and he really showed. I don't know so much about skill, but he showed aggressive strength, aggressive energy, big strength. I mean, he looked like those shots were just absolutely damaging Caleb Plant. He puts him down pretty early in the fight, and at one point it looked like it was lights out for Caleb, but of course he comes back, looks like the more sound boxer, absolutely overwhelms and breaks him down, changes the complexion of the fight. I want to talk about inside versus outside fighting. That was really interesting, a tale of two fights, but ultimately gets the stoppage win.
Yeah, that was definitely entertaining, man. Probably the fight of the night. And the size was clearly a factor because Plant was getting knocked off balance by glancing blows, by body punches. The knockdown wasn't a head punch. It was a punch in the shoulder and a shoving right hand to the chest. And it just knocked him clean off balance, which is also kind of a product of his slick defensive style, where his movement is... he's a little bit vulnerable with his balance because he uses a lot of footwork and slipping and stuff, and he doesn't really have a high guard, locked in, really tight guard to absorb those kind of punches. He usually tries to dance And when you're dancing, you can be knocked over.
So maybe you're thinking he was like mid pivot.
Yeah, he was backing up a little bit and got caught and got knocked over. You know, it was more about a knock over than a knockdown, honestly. It wasn't like a head punch. Now, he did get caught with a hook at the very end of the previous round.
Mm-hmm.
They had him wobbled for sure.
Yeah.
But he didn't go down in that instance, but he definitely got rocked because he was doing the pullback defense.
Mm-hmm.
And the left hook was coming over because McCumbee was lunging, like just full effort, a whole body weight, just launching himself across the ring and trying to land something big. And that's when eventually they made the adjustment. He's got Breadman, another great coach. We got to give credit to the coaches for the work they do. He was coaching him right, and they turned it around on him, and they started walking him down, and they started bullying the bully. They started taking away the ability for McCumbee to lunge by being so close. So I'm right here. You can't jump on me. I'm not going backwards anymore. All right? Don't give him room to jump. They got nowhere to go. And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think highlighting the coaches is spot on for this fight. If anyone ever questions what a coach does, watch this fight, because you could see Plant was trying to be on the outside. He was staying at range, which clearly he thought was the path to victory, but McCumbee was using all that space to wind up and get so much power on his shots, and it wasn't working. Plant couldn't put together his defense and get out of the way. And so instead, he just goes head to head, chest to chest for the rest of the whole fight. And, you know, I was watching it with some guys who were like, dude, why is he doing that? He's going to get hit so hard. And I'm like, nah, it's actually safer there than it is at the end of those punches at range. And Plant just showed that his inside game was far superior, and he starts lifting his head and scooping and scoring. And
yeah, that's
nice.
Where he showed his class. And he had mentioned something in the pre-fight about how he's been out for 15, 18 months, but he had 359 rounds of sparring. They counted everyone, and he remembered the number. So clearly he's been active in the gym, and he's had some really good sparring to make those adjustments and to fight a different fight. Mm-hmm. And that's great. That's what we like to see in a good competitive matchup, is a change in momentum.
Yeah.
And not just a guy getting lucky. He made that happen. Him and his team made that change, and it gave him the victory. But he took some damage in that fight. He got knocked around.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, man, we had talked about that. Like, if he was fighting 154 pounders, he'd be the bigger guy. But he seems to constantly be the smaller guy in these 168 pound fights. You know, Durrell, obviously, there was about the same size as him, but Benavidez is bigger. Canelo's a bigger guy, at least in weight, not so much height. Mm-hmm. But, man, I mean, what's next for Plant after that? I mean, McCumbee, he's going to go back to wherever he was at.
Well, McCumbee's probably going to fight Canelo next, the way Canelo's going. He's like, oh, that's perfect. I'll pick him.
Yeah.
Plant, I don't know. You know, I was texting with Han, and he threw out a great option, which was let's see him against one of the Charlos.
Are they even boxing? Are they active?
I said he should fight both of them on the same night, back to back.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You know, is it a Canelo rematch? Is it Munguia?
Munguia would be cool.
If Munguia gets past this fight tomorrow night, I could see that. Plant Munguia.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get the Canelo rematch. I don't think he's quite earned that yet. Not like McCumbee was a contender or a title holder or anything like that. He needs to get back up in there and get something to really make him shine.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was very exciting fight. Didn't see that one go in the distance. Thought I got the pick on Plant wrong, as McCumbee was really battering him, but also figured that he was going to press the action like that, and that was going to make Plant turn it on, which is what happened. Kind of the exact opposite fight next. Erislandy Lara gets the stoppage win over Danny Garcia, who obviously listens to this podcast, hates me, wants me to be wrong, and absolutely the fix was in. He threw the fight, right?
Yeah, I mean, people have been asking us all week, why did he do that? Why did he box like that? Did he quit? What happened? Well, it's because he listened to the pod and he wanted to mess up your pick.
Yeah.
This is a completely just a focused attack on you.
It was exactly as we called it through the first, 8 rounds, right? I mean, Lara was on the jab. He was turning, staying off the ropes. Sharpshooting. Insanely boring fight. I mean, booze raining down, which I'm sitting there going, yeah, of course this is what would happen. You got a dangerous puncher across from you, but you're longer and more skilled. Why would you take any chances? Just box to an easy victory.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, watching the replay, it looked like he hit him with the same shots he'd been hitting him with the whole time, and Danny just sat down and said, that's good. I didn't get it.
Yeah, it was certainly not a co-main event energy.
No.
Coming off that Plant McCumbee, which not only had, a knockdown and then a stoppage, but also had all this bravado and machismo and and all the, made you miss freaking, all this cute stuff they're doing in the ring and shit talking and then you get to this and it looks like hardly a sparring session.
Nothing.
Garcia was not stepping in with anything. there was one round where the commentator said he didn't land a single punch. No connects, zero connect for the whole round.
Just following him around pretty much.
And just kind of pawing. I know it's difficult in the open stance with the Southpaw Orthodox. You got to get your feet moving to get that jab in there. But he wasn't even trying. He was just kind of sticking that jab out there like he was just warming up or something. And he would try to shift in every now and then and throw the right hand, but his right foot would come through and he'd fall off balance. And then, of course, the slick southpaw's out the side door and he's gone. So he never got anything going. So it could be that he just, he got hit with that shot and he's like, God damn, man, I can't hit this guy with anything. And now I'm getting touched up. It looked to me like he got hit clean. It was a good, strong punch. And
I'm watching the replay right now, and it's even less than I remembered it. So Laura's like completely squared up, and then he throws the rear hand, his left hand.
Kind of like a jab.
Kind of like a jab, because he's so squared up. And it hits him pretty clean, but it's clearly not like a power shot. I mean, it doesn't even whip his head back or anything. He just kind of, taps him on the front of the head, and he kind of stands there for a second, and then he just takes a knee.
Yeah, to me it looked like he got touched. There was a little wobble, and then there was a choice.
Yeah.
And then there was the knee. And it looked to me like he had time to make a choice there. We've seen so many knockdowns in the gym and on TV and in the fights. These guys can't help it. When they're going down, they're going down. They're getting slumped or they're getting knocked off their equilibrium or something happens. But you could tell in his eyes, I think there was a choice there. He was like, oh, I didn't like that. I'm
not putting anything together. I don't understand being that far into the fight and not thinking, well, let's finish it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they made the economical decision in the corner of just like, dude, you're taking damage. You're not in this fight. What's the point? And I don't throw any shade on them for that other than the fact that they ruined my bet because they don't want me to succeed.
Well, last week I was saying activity and experience go hand in hand. They have to work together. He's been inactive. And I said, you can have all the IQ in the world, but if you haven't been applying it, then you're going to struggle. And he's looking at the guy saying, I need to do this, I need to do that, but you can't pull the trigger. That's what we call a shot fighter, when you just can't do it anymore. I've seen it even happen to amateurs when they've been out for too long and they come back or something like that, and they go to spar, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I can't, I don't know, something, I can't do it. Like, it's like, the resistance of jumping off a cliff.
Right.
Like you want to do it. Your whole friends are cheering for you. Come on, man, jump in the water. And your body won't let you do it.
Right.
And so it's beyond a choice. It becomes psychological. So he probably was struggling with that psychological problem all night long. And then that final thing was pushed him over the edge of the cliff and into the water he went. And he took the knee and stayed down. So, tough to watch. I never like to see a fighter go out like that. But I think he should stay retired.
Yeah. After that performance, it's kind of like, dude, this was the opposite of competitive in every way. And yelling at the screen the whole time, except for it was going the way that we wanted it to. But kind of the opposite of a co-main event. They should have let Fulton take that spot. But then we get on to the main event, Fat Joe's Fight of the Year. Canelo, kind of just as we called it, Canelo drops Berlanga early in the fight. Then the fight ends up going the distance, and Canelo takes a unanimous decision win. So we had two picks on this fight. One was Canelo by unanimous decision. The other was Berlanga hits the canvas, and Alvarez goes on to win by any type of decision. Both came true. So 2 + 400 picks on the same night. And honestly, this is the way I feel like you're gonna bet almost every Canelo fight, unless it's Bivol, right? He's still the man at 168. He's got tremendous power, tremendous skill. He's insanely durable, and he's going to put you on the canvas at some point, but he's not going to finish the job. And, Berlanga benefited from being close to 200 pounds on the night and being a young guy, but I don't know if that's an excuse to not kind of get stopped by being the clear deficit in skill that was on display through every single round. But Canelo's kind of a decision fighter at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely fighting bigger dudes. 193 pounds on fight night is humongous. And he's definitely not dominating. But he got a really clean knockdown there in the third round. I mean, perfect shot.
Yeah.
But you could tell that Berlanga, while he got caught clean, he was conscious of his mistake. He was frustrated with himself. As soon as he got sat down, he knew what happened, and he got back up. And then he got hit quite a few more times, but never had the same effect.
Yeah.
He literally just didn't see that punch coming. And so it was a flash knockdown, right? Not a pure, KO type punch. And Canelo, we'd say in boxing that power doesn't fade, right? Speed does, reflexes, reaction. But power should stay with you through your life and your career. and the old man strength. It's supposed to be a thing. So I think what we're seeing here isn't so much that he's aging out of his power. I just think that he's fighting big ass dude. Same thing with Bivol. He struggled with Bivol, effectively hurting him because he's so big and strong, and he's got great defense. The Canelo, the way he goes, he's going to pick a guy and go the distance. That's what we can predict in the next fight.
Yeah, and I mean, I certainly agree with you there on this fight, but you look at the past couple, Jaime Munguia, who had just kind of naturally filled out to 168 recently, Charlo, who was coming up.
True.
John Ryder. I don't know how
Charlo wouldn't hold still for long enough to throw a punch.
Yeah, and that's another factor is I think a lot of these guys, kind of want to survive with Canelo because going 12 rounds is kind of like winning against Canelo in a way.
Yeah, big moral victory. I did it.
I did it, yeah. And, hats off to Berlanga for that. And you know what? I didn't think Berlanga was necessarily just surviving in there. I mean, I think he boxed smart. He didn't, risk it all in the last round or last 2 rounds like maybe he should have, realizing he needed a knockout to win. But he did okay. He did better than I thought he was going to do. I mean, still lost probably every single round.
I've seen the official scorecards. He won some rounds.
How many rounds total did he win?
One judge had him winning 3. The other judges had him winning 2. And the only round they all agreed on was round 6.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, round 7.
He kind of picked up in the middle rounds there, somewhere in there. He had a good round or 2.
Yeah.
So good for him.
So, it was the Canelo show. One of the guys at the gym was there in attendance, and he said it was the Canelo show. He said there wasn't a air in a feeling of drama in the arena. It felt like they're just watching Canelo do what he does best.
Right.
Of course, he's a massive Canelo fan, and he was there to support Canelo. But he's an honest guy and a big boxing fan, a boxer himself, so he knows boxing. And he told me, hey, it was the Canelo show. Berlanga never had a moment that added up to anything.
Right, like there's not even tension watching the fight. It's just like watching a movie. You kind of know the outcome already.
Yeah, but now that Canelo isn't knocking dudes out, that high wire tightrope tension isn't there that we see when we watch a Benavidez fight or a Beterbiev fight. We're like, oh, any second now. Oh, buddy, any second now.
Right.
You watch Canelo now and you're like, okay, yeah, he's just doing his thing.
He's impervious to destruction. Yeah. Just high guard.
Sure does make it look pretty. I mean, one of the best, modern boxers and with his style. I really like to watch his style. So, I mean, it's not worth $90.
It's right. Exactly what I was about to say. We talk about it in terms of price point as like a consumer, and you're like, yeah, man, I don't know, $90. Like I paid $15 to watch that.
It'd be like, okay, we got Usain Bolt. You're gonna pay $90 to watch him race some dude from the local cross country team.
Right. Like no. Watch him race Tyreek Hill. All right.
Oh shit.
I got money on that pay-per-view. Well, I mean, obviously the question's what's next for Canelo. He came out and said he wants the Bivol rematch if he gets through Beterbiev. Thought it was interesting. He said no interest in fighting the winner straight up. Just wants the Bivol rematch.
Has he ever spoken the word Beterbiev? Has he ever talked about him? Has he ever acknowledged him?
And it's weird because he kind of does this like implied thing where he's like, well, that guy's too big. And I'm like, but you're fighting the guy that guy's fighting. That's the same weight class. Yeah. I don't get it. And meanwhile, Bivol says, yeah, I'll fight you, but I want to do it at 168 and come down to take your belts. And Canelo said no.
Right.
So that's like a really interesting dynamic. I think Canelo's really attracted to that fight because it's safe. He doesn't lose his belts. It's safe because if he loses, he's daring to be great, moving up in weight. And it's a loss to avenge. So there's kind of like a reason to get up in the morning for that fight. Whereas Beterbiev, it's like, that's daring a little too much.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Artur he's getting older for real. People calling Canelo old. He's 33, 34. But Artur's going to be 40.
Yeah.
I mean, I know exactly what that feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're like, almost 50, right?
Almost. So, actually, before we get too deep into what's coming next week, we got some messages from our devoted fan base on Instagram. And I wanted to go over some of these real quick. First off, my guy Steven, before the fight, he said he disagreed with our call on Canelo not being able to stop bigger guys, and he referenced the Kovalev fight. Mm-hmm. And said, look what he did to Sergey. And I said, Sergey was pickled with vodka, brother. And he said, yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong, but not going to make excuses. Kovalev is probably a far more dangerous fighter, even if he was sick.
It's also 5 years ago.
So that's interesting. I thought that was a fair point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it didn't turn out that way. So good call there, Stephen. But never doubt us again.
Also, a good point, I'll defend him, is that, we kind of started this analysis by saying, like, why is Canelo not stopping guys? Like, the power shouldn't be fading, and he's not. And you brought up maybe it's because he's fighting bigger guys, but they're not really all. Maybe it's them wanting to survive. Like, there's kind of a combination of little factors that are leading us to think he's not going to stop people.
Remember when he had the hand injury? What fight was that? He had to get surgery. He had cut his hand or something, or he had broken his hand.
Was that before Ryder?
Maybe that could have something to do with it. Maybe that's what.
Yeah, he's not trusting enough. I don't know. There's a combination of factors for sure in there that's leading us to think that. But it's definitely a fair note to be like, hey, man, at some point he's going to knock somebody out.
All right. And then moving on to next questions. We got a couple from Sabrina. She asked about the Garcia stoppage. She says, what was this about? Was his heart just not in it? It didn't look like a big punch. So we went over that already. And, it didn't look like a big punch. And I think my evaluation is probably pretty spot on. Just his inability to pull the trigger was frustrating for him. He was having kind of a psychological, mental block, a puncher's block, kind of like a rider's block. He just can't make it happen. And then the accumulation. And then, of course, his dad, being a father coach, is the one who made the choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, okay, no more. And, that's the right choice. But, yeah, I think he should definitely retire. And then
I think someone should look at his bank account and make sure there weren't any large deposits immediately after this fight, because the fix was in.
And then she also asked, what's up with this? Why did Canelo turn his back? Did he think he heard the bell? That was a weird moment. So there at the 10-second mark, I forget which round it was, Canelo did the old walk-off. Mm-hmm. And I think he just totally made a mistake. I don't think he was trying to be clever. I don't think he was trying to be cute. I think he thought the round was over.
That's what I think, too. And I screamed when he did it. I was like, oh, this is it. This is terrifying.
I mean, imagine, though, imagine just for a second if Berlanga had been able to land that punch and do some damage and maybe knock him out. Like, well, you sucker punched the champ. No, he made a mistake. He wasn't protecting himself at all times, but he still wouldn't have got legit credit for a win off of that.
No.
So he did land clean with a big leaping lead hand, but Canelo was like, oh shit, and then the round was over before anything could really add up from it. But I think he totally made a mistake. You box so many rounds in your life, you're going to make mistakes like that. And that's probably bugging him now when he thinks back of the whole fight. That's probably what's bugging him the most, is that he embarrassed himself by turning his back and thought the 10-second clacker was the bell.
Was the bell. Yeah, that's what I thought as well, because he didn't really embellish it like he was, doing it to showboat.
Yeah, some people do a walk-off and then whoop, make you miss.
Right.
Be like, ha-ha, I tried to draw you into hitting me. But no, that was just a pure mistake.
Well, Berlanga was going for the Mayweather special, just knocking the dude out while he's thinks it's in between.
Yeah, what he did to Ortiz. And there was a headbutt situation earlier in the fight
couple
too,
times, yeah.
where he led with the head, Edgar did, and then Canelo cracked him back with a "fuck you" punch, and which I thought was funny. It's just like, well, it's already punching. Like, why aren't you punching like that all the time?
Right.
Like, get you back. It's like, yeah, of course, hit him a bunch, hit him with some combinations.
Yeah. Well, those were weird moments of the fight, though. Watching that, I wonder if he addressed it at the post-fight press conference.
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either. I don't think anybody asked him.
Yeah, it's just maybe he's getting old. And those are all the questions we had from the Graham. Thank you guys for reaching out. Please send any questions you have to over, and we'll always talk about it on the podcast. But that was a good night of fights. We'll see what's next. What's next for Canelo is such a weird question. It seems like he's running out of work to do because he's kind of put himself in this position where, like you said, I would not be surprised if he fights a Macumbi.
Yeah, why not? As he said, I want to fight at this point. So, okay, do whatever you want. I'll keep streaming them, pirating them. At the same time, across the street there at the Sphere, UFC had their event going on. I didn't catch any of those fights, but I did catch the absolute highlight of the night, which was, do you see this? Terrence Crawford gets flashed on the screen sitting next to Turkey.
Yes.
And they flash it, rapper Kendrick Lamar.
No, buddy.
Like, guys, these people do not look anything alike.
Wow.
Terrible. But I thought that was interesting that, you got Turkey and Canelo in a bit of an online scrap over who needs who. And then you got Turkey sitting ringside at the UFC the night of his fight.
Yeah, so Crawford must have gone back and forth.
He did, yeah.
Because I saw pictures of him at both events.
Yeah, he was like with Plant, and then he's like back over there.
Just hanging out, wandering around.
Well, he had to go scope Canelo. I hope he was there for that fight, since that's the fight he's trying to land, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
And he said right afterwards, he posted on Instagram like, "Let me at him, I can do it." So he was encouraged by watching that performance. Other boxing news, I saw Haney's coming back saying he wants the rematch with Garcia, saying that he was supposed to fight Tio on a Radai card, but Tio backed out, said he wasn't ready. So it seems like Haney's kind of back in action, looking for another fight. Gervonta's ripping into him. Curious to see what his next move is. He was going to fight Pero in Australia. Seems like that might not come together. So Haney's looking to come back and make an entrance. And he gets a lot of hate, including some from me, but I like the sport more with him in it.
Yeah, we need these guys to get active and get busy and get back in there. You can't let a loss like that shut you down. You got to have a well-rounded experience. He had a bunch of wins. He had a loss. Now go back and get some more wins. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of UFC, Dana White came out with kind of a big declaration and said he's been kicking the tires on getting into boxing for a long time, and he's been kind of silent on it, but he's decided that he's in, and he's going to start throwing boxing events.
Probably has something to do with his relationship with the turkey.
Probably sat next to each other all night and was like, "I'm sorry, how much money? How many zeros did you say? I'll go. I can do that." So that's pretty interesting.
We'll see what that comes up with. That will finally give Jake Paul a chance to get in and kind of do a cross promotion against the UFC.
Is he getting in the cage? That's what I wonder.
No, I hope not.
That'd be crazy. Other news, Shakur Stevenson injures his hand, has to have surgery, pulls out of the Joe Cordina fight on October 12th.
Did you see the video of the sparring session that caused it?
No.
It's making the rounds.
No pun intended.
Yeah, well, he didn't make it through the round. Yeah. He threw a hook to the body with that lead right hand, and it didn't even look like anything. I mean, it looked like they were just working. It didn't look like he loaded up. Didn't look like he was trying to rip. And he just touched something, hit the elbow maybe, and because the guy went to block it, maybe he caught the inside of his forearm. Who knows what? But he just dropped instantly down. Like just looked like he got totally just wiped out by it.
Damn.
So bummer deal.
Yeah, I hope he can recover from that. Was looking forward to that, and not a great way to start the relationship with Matchroom, obviously, and a guy who's kind of in a, not about a low point, but at an inflection point where he needs to make something happen.
And the Cordina fight's just not even going to happen. They're already talking about what's next. When he comes back, they're moving on.
Because that was a get-right fight, someone he should probably stop to kind of build momentum towards a bigger fight. So maybe it's just a skip. But I wouldn't be mad at him for taking another interim fight, especially if you're coming back from a surgery.
Yeah. Well, hurting the hands is never good for a boxer, especially one who's already known as being overly defensive.
Right.
You're going to have to really train hard, get that hand strong, and get his offense going.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Freddie Roach needs to coach him.
All right. Roach is the coach.
I like this idea of, don't work on what you're good at, right? Like, lean into, try to change this dynamic. And
if you're a brawler, go get a boxing coach. If you're a boxer, go get a brawling coach.
Yeah. I don't know. At the same time, I hear all the time, don't try to fix what you're bad at, right? Like me, I can't spell, I can't do math. All right, what can I do? I can pick winners in boxing matches. So just, quit your job and run a boxing podcast.
Yeah, that's what we're doing, man.
Well, other boxing news, Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois has sold out at Wembley Stadium, 98,000 tickets. It will, if people show up, which I think they will, if they bought the ticket, it'll break the record for the most attended fight.
Dude, we're going to be able to hear them singing Sweet Caroline all the way over here across the pond. That's 98,000 just screaming their heart out.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
That's going to be great. Great energy. Wish we were going to be there. But let's talk a little bit about that fight. Decent card. Mark Chamberlain, Joshua Buatsi, Ishmael Davies, Josh Warrington, a lot of British fighters.
I don't think anybody even has. I think they are just all walking to the stadium or catching the trolley,
the tube,
catching the tube. Yeah. They're doing ride the tube over. I don't think all these guys. They're all the hometown local guys, or at least UK general. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a great night for their country. Good night of boxing. British boxing, their fans are as much part of the show as the boxing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Turn the volume up. Get some fish and chips or whatever, and then fucking have a good night.
Mm-hmm. Or a good morning for us.
Oh God, yeah, that'll be the Carter party started around 8, 9, or 10.
Yeah,
main event around 1. Yeah, well, That's
I don't mind it. Yeah, 7:30 a.m. is the start for us. That's so early. It's a long card though. But let's jump into the kind of the top 3 fights here. Josh Warrington versus Anthony Cassese.
Kakashi. That's what
Kakashi?
I've been calling him Kakashi.
It's C-A-C-A-C-E. That's too many consonants back and forth with vowels. You know,
yeah,
I need.
yeah. What's his fight nickname?
I don't know. Does he?
Let's find his nickname because we'll just call him that.
That's true. I need to just learn the nickname so that you know.
Well, he had a great performance against who we were just talking about, Stevenson's missed opportunity opponent in Joe Cordina, where he really showed some nice punching, man, and a great heart. And I think it got a little scrappy, but he came out on top, and he was countering really nice and really sharp puncher, real savvy. So I think he's going to be able to do the work here against this fella. Warrington, who's a rough fighter, but he's lost to 3 of his last 6, and 1 of those was a draw. So he's 2 of his last 6 fights he's won. You know, he's a rough fighter, lots of headbutting and elbowing and real head-first kind of violent lunger. But I think we saw Kakashi's ability to counterpunch and control. I think he'll be okay. I think it'll be a scrap for sure.
And his nickname I do not approve of is the Apache. Kind of a strange name for an Irish fighter, but he's on a 7-year win streak.
Kakashi the Apache. Apache? So maybe it rhymes with Apache.
Yeah.
Kakashi the Apache.
Kakashi, wasn't that what I said? Kakashi?
No, you said Kakase.
That sounds cooler. That sounds more exotic, you know?
Kakase.
Kakase the Apache.
Apache.
That's
All
how
right,
you
so
say
the
his name.
Apache. Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. I don't know.
He's got 2 nicknames listed. The other one is Anto.
Anto?
A-N-T-O. That's even easier.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with Anto.
Anto.
Well, I'm picking him on that one just because Warrington, while he's got a great first name, as you know, Josh, you know, is a good name. And there's a lot of Joshes in the UK. I think some of my forefathers were from that very same place. But
Sounds right, judging by your complexion.
yeah, and my teeth.
Yeah. Yeah. Your cooking ability. We could kind of go down the
Hey,
list
now,
here.
let's take it easy, all right?
This guy's eating fish and chips at 7:30 in the morning.
All right, so picking Warrington to go down on that one, but I don't know if he's going to be a knockout. This might be a DQ. This is one of those kind of fights where something silly is going to happen because it's going to be so rough.
I could kind of see that. Yeah, I think I haven't looked at the line yet, but Josh Warrington probably straight up would be the pick.
Josh to win?
I'm sorry, the Apache.
That's it.
Yeah, Anto
the Apache.
Yeah, straight up. Just
yeah,
a money
just
line.
money line.
bet.
Yeah, good pick on that. Good pick.
Next up, Tyler Denny versus our boy Shiraz.
Oh, Hamza Shiraz. What a performance over Emma Williams, man. Complete masterclass. Couldn't miss. And when he landed, it looked like it hurt. He was working that kid. And that kid wasn't a soft touch. He was on a hell of a tear. And, he got stopped hard in that fight. It was almost hard to watch at some point. I was like, throwing the goddamn towel, come on. And they eventually stopped it. I don't remember what round, 6th or 7th. And, wow, what a performance. So we're expecting Shiraz to keep sailing high on the seas of victory. Denny looks like a local guy, he's been around a little bit, but not on that level. So, hopefully it's a tough fight, but hard to pick him there when I don't know enough about Denny. Hard to pick a method or anything like that, but I'd say money line. Shiraz is smart money.
Yeah, Shiraz continues his undefeated streak. He's certainly riding a bit of a TKO streak. I mean, straight TKO victories going all the way back to November 2020.
Yeah, that's something to look at. We'll look at the money line. That might affect our final pick, what they're saying for KO or TKO. We might even do an over-under on that one and say that one, might not go the distance.
Yeah, Tyler Denny's got 2 losses, 1 by stoppage. But again, those are, going back to 2019. But he's kind of riding a unanimous and split decision victory streak for a while. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. It's hard for me to see him pulling off the win against Shiraz.
Hey, while we're talking about unanimous and split, I've got to put you on the spot with a little quiz.
Oh, God.
Before we get to the big main event here, let's do a little side project.
Okay.
I want go ahead and tell me, and I want you guys listening to try to answer this question too while Dust is thinking about his answer. I want you to define for me these different results a judge can come up with for a boxing match. Okay, some you'll know, some you might not. Okay, so what's a split decision?
Well, a split decision isn't just one judge, right? A split decision is when you don't win unanimously. So 2 judges see it for one fighter and one judge sees it the other way or sees it a draw.
Great. Perfect answer. Okay, what's a majority decision?
A majority decision is the same. It's 2-1 or 2 in a draw, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Good. I thought I might stump you with that
Yeah,
one.
2-1 versus 2 in a draw.
2 and a draw. Okay, how about obviously unanimous decision like we saw with
Everybody for one.
Okay,
Yep.
and a draw
Split.
means-
Yeah. I mean, they
Okay.
could all have it a draw, or one judge could have it for one could have it a draw, and the other could have it for the other fighter.
So what's a majority draw? Which is
That's an interesting question. Yeah, majority draw. Let me think about it. Is because if you have 2 go for 1 and 1 is a draw,
that's the
it's
same.
still a majority decision. Is that a majority draw? No.
No. Let's go.
A majority draw would have to be 2 draws, and then 1 goes for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, nice work. I wonder if you guys at home listening or wherever you're at, working out, going for a drive. I usually listen to my podcast when I'm getting my road work in. So maybe you're thumping down the road right now, putting your miles in. But I had to review those myself and make sure I knew what the hell I was talking about because some of these get a little confusing. But yeah, good job, Dust. Nailed it.
Those are good questions.
Do you think we're going to have anything like that coming up in our main event on?
That's a
Saturday
great question. I mean, this is an awesome fight. I'm really excited about this fight. I mean, it's two big, strong British heavyweights who are both ascendant. I think Anthony Joshua is rebuilt, and I think Dubois has answered the questions that Usyk kind of asked by, making him quit. Does he have lack of heart? I think he's coming into his own. And so you just have 2 kind of peaking big fighters. I don't see this fight going the distance. And, I see a stoppage win for one of these guys.
Which one?
That's the question. But is that how you see it? Just for the framework of the fight?
I do see it just like that. Yep, I think Joshua is on a totally rebuilt fighter, totally, on a great path. And he's, he put on his career has been a great boxing story for any boxing fan or boxer or any athlete or athletic fan or sports fan. They're going to make a movie about this guy. It's going to be entertaining because he's got ups and downs. Nobody wants to see a guy who's always up.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back from being down is where you endear yourself to the people, become a people's champ. How many fights did Ali lost? Nobody remembers, but they remember him for what he did for the sport and what he did for the world, a great ambassador of the sport and a great human. And Joshua has an opportunity to do something like that himself. They've really kind of pumped him up and sold him as this, this package. Mm-hmm. And I think he struggled a lot in the losses, but through that, he's been rebuilt and come back stronger. And now he has actually become the person they were trying to sell us back in 2016, 2017, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now he is the real one, and he had to go through the fire to come out the other side. And I don't think the Dubois kid is going to be able to keep him off his streak. I think Dubois goes down somewhere in the middle to late rounds.
So mid to late rounds, stoppage for Anthony Joshua. That's what you see.
How many Hrgovic right hands landed on
facts.
on the kid?
Facts. Here's what throws me off. If you ask me to predict the outcome of the fight, I agree with you 100%. I think Joshua finds the right hand at some point, and he's just too big, too powerful, and that's the end of the fight, right? But the line really reflects that. So fight line, Dubois money line is plus 320. Joshua's minus 425. So people really expect Joshua to win. And if you look at the props, Dubois by stoppage is plus 475. And I don't think it's that unlikely. I think he could find success there, especially think back to a couple fights ago, Joshua was fighting Helenius, right? And he found you could see him downloading information, second, third round. Okay, this guy pulls back straight up with his head in the air. All right, I'm going to put together combinations with a double jab, and then eventually I'm going to double jab, cross, knock him out. And he did, and it made it look effortless. But it took him like 7 rounds. And he didn't look confident like he could have done it earlier. Now he's gotten more and more confident as time has gone on. I mean, it was a lot easier to download Ngannou and knock him out pretty quickly, but that's a bit of a cheat, right? So I don't know. I could see Dubois having success in the very early rounds by really putting it on him, and Joshua kind of devolving a bit back to that guy that maybe isn't ready and can't handle the pressure and gets caught in a firefight like Ruiz. And I think Dubois cracks a lot harder than Ruiz.
Yeah, Dubois is coming off his most recent battle with Hrgovic, who was throwing some shots, and he landed pretty clean. But it's Dubois who did the better work, just beat that dude's face up, fucked his whole side of his head up. If he's landing those kind of punches against the vulnerable, chin or, temple area of Anthony Joshua, we could see some kind of shaky leg upset, But I hope that they know that in the camp working over there, that they know Ben Davison, his coach who's helped this big turnaround, this guy is like a wonder kid. When he first was coming around working with Tyson Fury, people were calling him a cardio coach. Cardio coach. He don't know shit. He never had a fight. He doesn't know nothing. He was a soccer sports strength and conditioning coach who fucking is trying to make money off of boxers. People talking mad shit. And now podcasts, interviews, they're calling him one of the greatest minds in boxing.
Right.
Wow, you really, your success.
Quite a turnaround.
Wow, what a turnaround. And I don't disagree. He seems like a smart young fella, but he's, I don't know why he doesn't go down to the club and get his own fights in a little bit. Maybe he does. Maybe he spars on the weekend and he never fought because he's got, I don't know, an injury or something.
Yeah.
But either way, I hope they're working defense in the gym against those big, powerful clubbing punches that are going to be coming their way. If he can stay behind his jab and be the longer, taller guy, he'll be getting it done. And I think Joshua can get it done. But that's what makes it exciting, right? Is this a boxer versus a puncher? Then it's always going to be exciting. It's always going to have that tightrope, high wire act tension.
But do you see this as boxer versus puncher?
I think that the only chance Dubois has is a puncher.
Is to be a puncher. I agree with you there. I think Dubois, 20 victories, 20 by stoppage. He's a puncher, but he's not a bad boxer either. He's not some horribly flawed fighter or anything like that. I would say he's not on the level of class as Anthony Joshua. And it's tough advice to follow. Hey man, go out, just go in there swinging. Put it on him, put the pressure on him. But I do think in this fight, being on the front foot, being the smaller guy, he's 6'5", a couple inches shorter, but he's got 4 or 5 inches less reach. I would tell him to bomb in there low and have some big swinging, looping, powerful shots and try to fluster Anthony Joshua early.
You're thinking Ali Frazier won.
Yeah. Crouch, cross block, stay low.
Explosive power, leaping power punches that cover the distance and get past the jab.
Yep. And I try to put that together pretty much right out of the gate to fluster him, put him on the back foot. Don't let him process you, download the information of what you're trying to do and how he's going to beat you. Make him pick his shots off instinct, not intellect, because I think Joshua is a very thoughtful person and fighter. And if you put him out of that comfort zone, that's where he tends to struggle.
Yeah, great analysis. It'll be really interesting to watch. If you had to pick right now.
If I had to pick right now, I think Anthony Joshua gets the stoppage win. But I don't think there's any value in putting any money on that. So for me personally, this is a fight where I fade $20, $25 on Dubois KO. Because why not? It'll make it exciting. It's a big hit if you win. No big deal if you lose. Okay. I don't see a lot of value in the line on this fight personally.
Okay, that's interesting, man. Well, we'll be keeping a keen eye on that. That's going to be happening midday on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And if we rewind Friday night in Glendale, Arizona on ESPN Plus, we've got the return of Jaime Munguia and another, pretty solid card. Kiki Torres, the return of a friend of the show.
Yes, Kiki's back in action. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what's this card looking like? Who we got going on? What's our top 3 fights here?
So Jaime Munguia, Eric Bazinian, Richard Torres. You're going to have to say this guy's last name. Joey. What am I supposed to look up his nickname, right? That's our new strategy.
Joeco. I don't think you say the J. It's
silent
like
J?
Yeah, I think it's a silent J. Looks like a Polish kind of fella.
One of your ilk.
What? No, brother.
I'm putting you all in these groups of people that are cooking with potatoes, potatoes and beans, and have bad teeth.
I can do some work with a potato. All right.
See there, you proved my point. All right, his alias is Tank, so I think that one might be taken by somebody. But
well, there was a Tank once upon a time who kind of looked like this Joeco fella.
Gervonta?
No. Believe it or not, no. His name was Tank Abbott, and he was one of the very first UFC fighters back when that was more of a tough man spectacle in the early 2000s. He had a big beard and a huge belly, but he would throw overhand punches and knock people out cold. Tank Abbott.
Well, Joey's knocked a couple people out cold. 16 KOs, 28 victories, but a bit of a journeyman record. 28-11 with 3 stoppages, 4 draws.
Well, this is a big step for our guy Torres, though, because this guy, Joey, he's been in there with some world-class fellas. He's been in there with Big Baby Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And who's the other fella he fought?
We were just looking at this.
Yeah, man. God damn. Frank Sanchez.
Frank Sanchez, yeah.
Frank Sanchez from the Canelo team, who recently lost over there in the Riyadh season card. Looked like his knee blew out on him or something. He just couldn't get it done.
And he got a draw with Miller, right? Yeah.
Drew with Miller, and he went the distance with Sanchez.
Yep, so he's a tough guy, and he's definitely going to be the most experienced fighter that Kiki is getting in there with. I will say, watching him at the weigh-in, they look to be about the same size. I don't see him bossing him around, and that's always my fear with Kiki, is that eventually he gets in there with, somebody that's just naturally so much bigger than him, because he's 6'2", 76-inch reach, weighs in around in the low 230s. But this doesn't seem like that fight, so it's kind of experience versus youth and power.
Well, we got Dueco weighing in recently at 257, 249, 257.
He's bigger on paper.
He's bigger on the middle.
I'm saying when you look at them standing next to each
Stature.
other, you're not like if Kiki, they're like, all right, Kiki, you're fighting Anthony Joshua. Like, that's going to be a different look at the weigh-in.
Uphill battle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll be keeping a keen eye on that one, but we are expecting our guy to take care of business. He's a real scrapper if he needs to be. When it gets going and gets rough in there, he can really throw.
You think it's a safe bet to say that his 10-fight, 10 KO streak continues?
Yes.
That seems like a safe bet to me. Let's see if we can find the line on that one.
Yeah, he's one of the most entertaining guys in boxing right now. If you're online, if you're on Instagram, he's got great content. He's hilarious, and he's done a really good job of promoting himself. And this is what we need in the sport. We need guys that are bringing something more than just bad attitude. I like that he's bringing a pretty funny attitude, a funny kind of casual, candid candor to the whole event. It's nice to see, and it's endearing. And he's the kind of guy that he's going to have a great career, and he might lose a couple fights, but we're not going to throw him out if he lost a fight, because he hadn't been sitting around talking about how he's the greatest thing that ever happened in the sport of boxing. And, I'll never lose, never let a white boy beat me or none of that shit.
No, he's
just a regular old dude, working class.
Yeah, we're glad. He's a likable guy. There's a good interview between him and Nico Ali Walsh on like the Top Rank YouTube channel you guys can check out. So that'll be a good fight. And then we got Vargas versus Friars, 8 rounds for junior welterweight.
Yeah, Vargas is entertaining as hell. That kid from the bloodline is strong, man. He's coming, just taking care of people real quick. Where are we looking at that? Emiliano.
Yeah, 11 wins, 9 by stoppage.
Yeah, Larry Friars. He's a working man. He's been around for a minute. 13-6-1. He went pro back in 2016. He's been busy working for a long time. A lot of experience, but he's been down against some names you might recognize, like Xander Zayas, TKO'd him in the third. I don't know this other guy. He got a draw with a fella named Mills. But it's Emiliano's time to shine, and he's gonna get this guy out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. He's a minus 8,000 favorite. So we're when we're putting our bets together for this fight, I'll tell you, we are cooking up a Top Rank special.
Oh yes, sir, we are.
And that leads the question to the top of the Top Rank special. Newly signed Jaime Munguia, Eric Bazinian, 12 rounds, super middleweight fight. How do you see this one going down? This is Jaime's coming off his decision loss, where he was dropped, but ultimately heard the final bell with Canelo. Good to see him staying busy and, not maybe taking a walk in the park, but what do you think for this fight?
I think it's a great fight for him. I think, even in a loss against a guy like Canelo, it raises your stock, not only in the business of boxing, but in the skill that you possess. Losing is a loss if you do it right. And, you're going to be sharper, you're going to be better, and you're going to naturally now take that with you, whatever those experiences were. So if he learned right and he got a good team behind him, well, he's naturally going to be a better boxer. So this isn't the same fight it would have been 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to feel like, man, this is nothing like Canelo.
Yeah.
Whether it be the pageantry and all the hoopla around the fight. And he realized, I'm the Canelo now. I am the A side. It's my time to shine, and he's going to take that confidence, and he's going to take that in there and take care of business. Now, this guy looks like he's tough enough to hang around, and I don't know about a KO here, but I think it's going to be a dominant win for Jaime Munguia.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think, they chose this guy well. I think they could have probably chosen someone easier, candidly, so I give him some props for that. We're talking about an undefeated boxer with some pretty sound fundamentals. He switches stances, so he's got some tricks in there. But I think he ends up kind of along the ropes, and I think he gets kind of tall when he's in trouble. And I picture Jaime really pressing the action, and I think by the 8th or 9th round, you see him start to really pull away and start to break him down. And I kind of favor a late round stoppage here in this fight for Jaime.
Okay, yeah, that's a good pick, man. I think it's going to be a good night of boxing, but definitely sticking with the Top Rank special. Not predicting any upsets here. Speaking of upsets, I have a thing I want to start doing on the pod, and where we can do it all for one card on these monster cards that happen, like the one in LA that you went down to. But we can do it for the whole weekend on weekends like this, where there's kind of a mixed bag and there's no like card that's stacked top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do is make predictions for certain things. Of all these fights we've talked about, what do you think will be the fight of the night or the fight of the weekend? What's the potential to be the fight of the weekend? I'll tell you my pick on that.
I mean, you got to pick.
Dubois.
You
Joshua.
have to pick that one because that's
most likely. This is like a most likely to be fight of the night. Most likely to be.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, who of all these guys we've talked about is most likely to get dropped?
Ooh, most likely to get dropped.
Who's most likely to touch the canvas?
That's a great question.
I'd say going to be Emiliano Vargas' opponent.
That's probably a good bet.
I mean, these are just fun ones. These aren't real bets or anything. This is just. But we're going to review these.
It's hard because
next week.
It's between Anto, Denny, or Vargas' opponent. That's the most lopsided fight, right? At minus 8,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to pick.
So that's probably a good bet there.
Okay, what's the most likely upset? Where of these, of all these fights we've talked about?
Well, the biggest upset would probably be Dubois.
But is that the most likely?
Not the biggest.
So.
I think
so.
The
most likely.
I don't think Joey taking out Torres is very likely. I think Bazinian taking out Munguia is more likely than people think, but I think it's more likely that Dubois gets lucky because he's such a big puncher.
Okay, I like that upset incoming. Okay, so we'll talk about those next week and see how we did on our little personal picks there. But that's going to be a lot of fun going forward, and we'll make a little Instagram slide about these and see what you guys think. And you guys put in the comments, what do you think is the most likely upset or the most likely guy to get dropped, or who's definitely going to do this or that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. Coach bringing the content today. This is great. Making my
what
job
happens
easy.
You make me wait till Thursday while you're down in Mississippi, making records and hanging out at the Blues Club.
Apparently, you just need 2 more days to become a professional every week. Maybe we're going to start recording this every Thursday. It's nice because all the lines are out here. Now I'm looking at Munguia Bazinian, right? So here's a question. Do you take him as a live dog? Plus 750. Munguia, minus 1,400 favorite. Even by stoppage, minus 275. They're not giving you anything here.
No, like I said, a dominant win. I don't know if it's a TKO or a KO, really. I don't know enough about this Canadian guy to say I know if he's got a chin or not. I mean, his record says he does, but you know what these records are sometimes, They're fluffed up, they're padded up. I don't know this guy. But I know Munguia, I know what he's capable of. He's a combination puncher, he's a volume puncher. But he's put on fight of the year before, but I don't think this is going to be fight of the year this time around. So we already made our prediction for fight of the year earlier, about a month ago. And, we just got to wait around for that to happen.
I'll tell you, even if you take the Top Rank special tonight, on Friday, which is the parlay, Torres, Vargas, Munguia, money line on all of them, it's still minus 833.
Damn.
That is
risk,
how,
no reward, brother.
No
risk, no reward.
Like, Top Rank is essentially just cooking the books. And, on these down card fights like Torres, a lot of times they don't even release odds. You got to find a different bookmaker, like other than DraftKings, to actually bet the stoppage or method of victory. So it's hard to even get at something different. Like Vargas' stoppage isn't even live yet on DraftKings. You just got the money line. So pretty much all you can bet on. So what you'd have to do is say you're going to take Torres straight up, you're going to take Vargas straight up, and then you're going to take Munguia by stoppage. And let's see. We're going to have to start live streaming this,
Yeah, we should. Then we could have people comment live in person.
So then we take him by stoppage. Let's see. All right, I just built a little parlay. You still only get to minus 238.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're not trying to give away any money on this one.
Yeah.
All right, well, last thing I got from my new content collection here, as I go through my Floyd retrospective, which I'm now on fight I've completed 16 of his fights, which honestly at this point is pretty easy because most of them don't go the distance. I want you to pick a number between 1 and 16, and I'll give you a quick, like, one paragraph review of the fight.
14.
Fight number 14. That was against a fella named Sam Gerard. Here's my notes. Easy work. Op brings the pressure, Floyd brings the counter hook, and destroys with inside control and combos.
Nice.
Got him out of there.
Yeah.
In 3.
In 3.
Yeah. That was it for that. Sam Gerard. Nice work, kid. You know, somewhere out there, you know, when you talk about these legends and their careers, guys like, you know, that are not only boxing legends, but like celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a guy sitting somewhere on a stool in, you know, West Virginia drinking beer, and they're like, "Hey, Sam, how you doing? Hey, remember that time you fought Floyd Mayweather?" You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy when you see, you know, the people. I've always been fascinated by that, people who transcend their position, you know, and I think it'd be a lot of fun. You know, I almost had a chance to spar a couple guys back in the day, and they go on to do all these things. And I would have loved to have gotten those rounds in now. If I could go back, I would have really forced it. But the night it was an option, I was kind of happy it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, but looking back, I say, man, I should have got those rounds in when I could have got them. But I wasn't in a position to ask. You know, I was just a guy in the gym.
Competitive, especially one-on-one sports are interesting that way. I think about that with rap a lot, where I used to battle people, and you know, that was not something I ever took seriously or thought of myself really as, but I battled people who I had no business battling, who are way better than me, and kind of look at it the same way, like got some rounds in with the champ. And you know, sometimes you even win some rounds against the champ because it's, you know, it's any given Sunday kind of thing. Anything could happen. But you know, they're still the champ, right?
Yeah. And one thing you can say about rap or boxing or whatever you're doing is consistency. You know, sometimes it's the guy who just keeps doing it.
Yeah.
Is the guy who gets it done.
That's why I hate, you know, I've got some show ideas, and one thing we need to talk about at some point is the death of the 0, right? The O on your record. That's bullshit, man. That just means you're too curated. It tends to mean that, unless you're just, maybe it's Floyd, rare air, this and that. I mean, and people obviously take shots at Floyd's record as well, or the way he got there. But I think it means a lot more to be, you know, 45-3, and you fought a ton of world champions, and you were unified in 2 weight classes. Like that's incredible record, as opposed to being, oh, I'm 30-0, but I never unified, or, you know, I was a 1 division champ, or, you know, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter the losses as much as it matters the consistency over the whole career.
Oh, I made an error there. It got Sam Gerard out in 2.
In 2.
Yeah. So that was in Atlantic City. You know, back in the day, Floyd used to get around a lot more. And eventually he just settled down in Vegas and didn't travel for boxing at all. But he's been to Biloxi, he's been to San Diego, he's been to, you know, over to Atlantic City, down in Texas. But you know, the booze, they're raining down. This guy really was a villain from right
even in
gate.
that fight that early.
Yeah, I mean, he was showboat a lot. You know, I think the time in the press, he was making a lot of noise, talking a lot of shit. But you know, it's interesting. A couple fights later, 15, 16, they had guys like Oscar De La Hoya on the call, and they had no idea that they would fight each other. And
Right,
they probably never
eventually.
even thought about it. They're a couple weight classes apart. This De La Hoya is already a legend by 1998.
Right.
1997. You know, he's beaten Julio Cesar Chavez. He's, you know, gold
medalist.
Yeah, you know, Floyd's a bronze medalist. He's now only on his, you know, first couple fights. So, but I'm only a fight or 2 away from him fighting Genaro Hernandez, which was his first title fight, and that's where things are going to change for my watch. And it's going to take longer than I initially anticipated, because he's going to start fighting 12-round fights, and a lot of them go the distance.
Yep.
So I'm going to have to really put some time into this whole Floyd experiment. But we'll keep playing games with this, and we'll just keep getting better at boxing all the time.
Yeah, just sit down with your fish and chips and your beans and whatever other, you know, cultural delicacies you like to eat.
Nah, brother, I'm on a caloric deficit diet. No fried nothing.
Clear boot soup. That's what they used to
Just-
have during the troubles.
The troubles. Yeah, just beer and potatoes.
I was just there in Dublin, and I'll say I don't think the food's evolved that much since the troubles. Pretty much stayed right about where you'd expect.
Yeah, well, I don't think people go there for the delicate food diets.
I don't know why people go there.
Yeah, I
having
know.
just been there.
Yeah.
You know, no shots, but
Hey.
I'd recommend Clarksdale, Mississippi over Dublin any day.
All right, man. Well, we got to get on back to the gym, don't we?
Yeah, let's get out of here. We'll have some more definite picks for you. In the meantime, hit us with those questions, that commentary, and if you're listening, you made it this far, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Those 5-star reviews really help us. slowly overtake Inside Boxing Live, which is
We're coming for you, Kenobio.
kind of an inevitability.
The other day, he said something. They have the greatest boxing podcast. I said, I don't think you can say that without challenging us to a showdown.
I mean, statistically, no. I'm still working on our little spreadsheet with our returns. It's taking me forever, but we're outperforming these guys, them and Mannix, all of them.
Yeah, well,
Like by a huge return. I mean, our picks are way better.
He's got the nepotism working for him. You know, he's been
It's not helping.
he's got the access to the stars.
Not helping him. Not helping him
understand the
pick.
sport of boxing.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
exactly. So
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to.
All right, we're coming for you.
So leave those guys a 0-star review. No, don't do
Zero.
that. Don't do that. But leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah,
We
if you're
appreciate
gonna
it.
review somebody, review us, and we
Review
thank you for
us.
listening.
And then review your life choices and how you ended up here. Until then, I'm Dust,
I'm Coach.
and that's boxing.